Test, test, mic test, one, two, three. Mic test, one, two, three.
Good evening, school board trustees, Superintendent Soto, cabinet, and members of the community. We're going to go ahead and begin with our recognitions for this evening. We'd like to recognize McCullum High School English teacher Christopher Baber. This year, he incorporated the Texas College Bridge program into his English 4 classrooms, and 66 of his students earned their TSI ELA exemption certificates. That means they can now enroll in entry-level college English courses without needing any developmental coursework. Thank you, Mr. Baber, for helping our students take this important step toward college readiness. Thank you so much. You good. And you can just go ahead and shake your hands and we'll get the photo. Yes. Congratulations, Mr. Baber. And that does it for our recognitions.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Mancha.
if I may have the floor for a minute, ma'am.
Yes, of course.
Almost a week ago today, I got a phone call that we had lost somebody that was a legend in our community of Harlandale. This woman put us on the map as far as sports were concerned. Coach Cardenas believed that our kids were just as good as anybody in the state of Texas. She taught our girls to never put their heads down, to always stand up high, no matter how short or how tall you were. We always talk about a GOAT. In sports, she was the GOAT for Harlandale. So if I can please everybody, if we can have a moment of silence in her behalf, it would be my honor. Thank you. I would like to also thank her kids for allowing us to share your family with us because she became part of our family. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mancha. Good evening, everybody. Today is Monday, June 16th, 2025. We are here at a regular board meeting of the Board of Trustees of Harlandale ISD. We are calling the meeting to order at 6:17 p.m. and we will open up the voting so that we can count ourselves present at tonight's meeting. Okay, we seem to have everybody here tonight. So thank you to my colleagues for joining the meeting tonight. We do have a quorum. And moving on to agenda item 1C, Mr. Soto, would you let us know who's here from cabinet and staff, please?
Yes, Madam Chair, Board of Trustees, HISD Committee, this evening, we have our Assistant Superintendent for Business and Finance, Mr. Flores.
Here.
We have our Executive Director of Operations, Dr. Hinojosa.
Here.
We have our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction, Ms. Casey.
Here.
We have our Executive Director of Human Resources, Dr. Salinas.
Here.
And we have our Public Information Director, Ms. Garza.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Soto. We also have Dr. Judy Castleberry here with us tonight. Hello, Dr. Castleberry. Moving on to agenda item 3, the board will conduct a public hearing regarding the proposed budget for the 2025-2026 fiscal year. Hello, Mr. Flores. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Mr. Soto, Superintendent of Schools, and community. We're here to go through the public hearing to discuss the budget and the proposed tax rate. This is a two-piece on the budget today. We do have the public hearing, and then we do have an action item that will follow for board member questions, from the board.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Soto.
before we start, I would like to introduce our principal and a student for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yes, thank you so much. I completely skipped
And,
over that.
and also, I send my deepest condolences and prayers to Coach Cardenas and the Cardenas boys. What a legacy she leaves, and that's a Harlandale legacy right there, and she'll be always part of the Harlandale family. Thank you three for being here. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Mr. Soto.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Soto, Harlandale community, and guests. Welcome to STEM Early College for tonight's board meeting. The thought of the day is, summer is not just a break, It's a chance to grow in new ways, explore new adventures, and return stronger and smarter and sunnier than before. Joining me to recite the pledges is Josiah Sanchez, a STEM sophomore who also participates in theater at McCollum.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you.
Members of the board, community, as we go through this public hearing to discuss the budget and proposed tax rate, before I go through to the next slides, I want to thank various departments that helped us put this together, including, of course, members of the cabinet and their departments and the finance team. This is a true, the budget process is a true team effort. We're going to go through the 2025-2026 compensation plan, proposed annual budget, and the 25-26 proposed tax rate. The 2025-2026 compensation plan requirements and recommendations. We will provide the House Bill 2 teacher pay increase requirements for eligible teachers, which is $5,000 for eligible teachers with 5 or more years of credible experience, $2,500 for eligible teachers with 3 and 4 years of credible experience. Provide from district, local, and state funds a $1,500 increase in teacher compensation for those with 1 and 2 years of credible experience, and a $1,500 increase for non-House Bill 2 eligible teachers with 3 or more years of experience. Provide a general pay increase of 2% from pay scale midpoint on equitable adjustments for all other staff members not previously identified in the eligible teachers and non-eligible teachers category, utilizing both district funds and the support staff retention allotment to include the following pay classifications: our classified pay plan, our clerical paraprofessional pay plan, and our administrative professional pay plan. In addition, the proposed compensation plan, we are proposing that our teachers' starting pay be at $60,000 for the 25-26 school year. We will utilize the full retention allotment projected at $3,083,850, utilize the full support staff allotment projected to be at $405,319, and utilize district proceeds from other local and state aid projected to be at $1,198,562. This information can be found on pages 4 and 5 of the budget booklet that was part of the board book and on your desks. Provide professional development at $25 an hour for those that will be going through Bluebonnet trainings, and provide the opportunity for the Bluebonnet curriculum team lead stipend in the spring for $1,000. We will continue to provide summer curriculum writing for district summer at $25 an hour, and provide the attendance and accountability incentive for A and B rated campuses. We will also continue the additional $60 toward the health insurance premiums established in spring of 2024, in addition to the $350 employer contribution. On page 6 of the booklet that was provided, we are showing the 25-26 new hire pay scale for teachers and librarians. Our new hire, again, base salary starting at $60,000. This graph does show 2 columns. It'll show the new hire base salary, and it shows the base salary for teachers identified by TEA as eligible for the teacher retention allotment. Moving on to the proposed annual budget for the 5 funds that we will be going through today. We are proposing estimated revenues for the general fund of $132,333,131 and expenses at $143,594,826. For our food service, revenues and expenses projected at $14,003,918. Our facility assessment fund, which currently holds our maintenance tax notes, we're estimating revenues at $80,000 and expenses at $1,760,650. We will also have a transfer in of $500,000 for interest revenues that have already been collected. Our bequest fund expenses at $241,323, and we expect that to be spent out. And for our debt service, revenues and expenses at $17,686,344.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Ortiz.
I have a really quick question. I need to go back a little bit. On the $60,000 starting salary for teachers, do we have an idea, Mr. Soto, where that puts us in as far as Bexar County, the competitiveness of Bexar County for teachers?
Yes, Ms. Ortiz, Board of Trustees, we sent that out.
Friday.
We did Fridays.
We have.
You have that in front of you, Mr. Flores?
Yes, this was put us tied for fifth with the neighboring district. This is based on current data that we have for 24-25.
And Ms. Ortiz, you make a good point. We're one of the very first districts through the budget year. So it looks like we're going to be the guinea pig as usual. And then the rest of the school districts come back after us and they're in an August budget board meeting. So that number can change, us being number 4, which probably will change.
Page 20 of the booklet has this slide right here, which has the proposed revenues and expenses by fund and function. This is the same information I just went through in the previous slide. However, this breaks it down further by actual function for the different funds. Page 27 and 28 of your booklet has the general fund expenses, and these are categorized by the main object codes of payroll, contracted services, supplies and materials, other operating expenses, debt service, and capital outlay. This graph shows the general fund operating expenses at 84.99%. I'm sorry, that was the revenues first. There you go. Sorry, page 25 and 26 has the revenues. Our state revenues at 86.18% of the overall budget. Local revenues at 12.48%, and federal revenues at 1.34%. Then on the expense side, we have those that were previously mentioned, with payroll being at 84.99, and then the other object codes shown for your review. We also have a 5-year projection of our end of year fund balance as of June 30th of 2028, as we're looking for our 5-year plan to have a balanced budget. This projections right here would put us at a overall deficit of $761,000. However, this is a working document as we work through the different years. The ending fund balance shown at the end of 2028 would be above the requirements for our first ratings for both indicators. Page 31 and 32 of the booklet has information on our food service fund, and it has a breakdown of our local, state, and federal revenues, with our federal revenues being our highest at 94.3%, or $13,205,623. Again, this is for our child nutrition fund. Expenses for the fund, the main ones are payroll at 43.99% 0.6%, and supplies and materials, which is the cost of the food items, at 52.37%.
Mr. Flores?
Yes.
I have a quick question. So the payroll expenditures on page 28 does not, or does it include the payroll cost on page 34?
Page 20 does not.
It does not?
No.
Okay,
One of them is the general fund side, and the other child nutrition fund.
thank you.
Our facility assessment fund, again, the currently holds our maintenance tax notes, is shown on page 36. And we're projecting revenues for interest of $80,000 and expenses of $1,760,650. A $500,000 transfer in is shown there for the interest that has already been collected that we'll be putting back into the fund so that we can utilize it. The bequest fund is shown on for donations to Harlandale ISD. And again, this one shows a breakdown by function, the majority of it shown in during instruction, for an overall total of $241,323. These are funds that have already been donated to the district. And our debt service fund, shown on pages 40 through 44 of the booklet, show our local revenues projected to be at $10,177,661, and state revenues at $7,508,683. Overall expenses for the fund at $17,686,344. Page 44 of the booklet also has the debt payment schedule that runs through 2054, I believe. Additional information, this is the advertisement that went through the San Antonio Express News on June 6th, which has the notice of the public hearing. This public hearing that would be to discuss the budget and proposed tax rate. The board approved on June 5th, 2025 to have this approved tax rate, approved the notice at 0.7575 for the maintenance operations rate and 0.50 for the interest and sinking fund, for an overall tax rate of $1.2575. And finally, the budget and tax rate timeline. We are projected to receive our certified appraisal roll no later than July 25th. The district will receive the certified roll. And in August, we will adopt a resolution fixing and levying the ad valorem taxes for the school district for the tax year 2025 and directing the assessment and collection thereof. So this concludes the public hearing. Any questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Soto.
this was just a public hearing piece. We still have as an individual item for the board to discuss any questions they have with administration.
Thank you, Mr. Soto. Thank you, Mr. Flores.
Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item 4, public comment. We do have some community members that have signed up for public comment. Our first community member is Ms. Jeanette Rodriguez. Ms. Rodriguez, you can come up to the podium, please. Welcome, Ms. Rodriguez. Just a few things that I need to go over. You have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. You will have a timer on the screen that keeps you on track. The topics addressed shall be limited to those specifically included on the board's agenda and/or district related. And we are ready whenever you are, ma'am.
Good evening, members and the board, faculty, and staff. My name is Jeanette Rodriguez, and I come before you today as a concerned parent and a committed parent who is deeply invested in the well-being and the future of my child and all students of this district. I want to raise a few concerns that I have, and I believe they demand immediate attention. First, in my opinion, there are some ongoing safety concerns that affect the physical and the emotional welfare of our students. Ensuring our children feel secure and supported on campus should be a top priority. Second, I've witnessed a lack of accountability among some teachers and administrators, which undermines, welfare of students, ensuring our children feel, hold on. The lack of accountability among some teachers and administrators, which undermines trust, disrupts learning, and leaves families feeling unheard. Third, and most personal to my family, my student was denied the opportunity to attend her senior year, a milestone due to attendance and grades. That I believe that there were opportunities, interventions, and support that were not taken, and I'm asking the board to examine how we can prevent this from happening to other students in similar situations. Additionally, there is a failure of school staff to follow court orders in regards to divorce decrees, which outlines specific rights and decisions regarding children's, alongside my child's, education. This is not just a procedure oversight, it is a legal and ethical violation. I'm here today not to place blame, but to seek solutions. I want to work collaboratively with the district to ensure that all students, especially those facing challenges, receive the fair treatment, communication, and support that they deserve. Now, I presented some documents that kind of help with that. Now, in my situation, there was a temporary guardianship that was given to the school November of 2023. In December of 2023 of the same year, a new court order was then presented. At that time, it shows that that guardianship was no longer to be at the front hand of the decree that was presented. Recently, I was in front of the school and I requested that my daughter's dog information be transferred to me as the second in command versus the father. At that point, I was denied. I was denied because evidently the special ed director overlooked that document. So now here I am today to speak with you and to understand the rights as a parent.
Ms. Rodriguez, your 3 minutes are up.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for signing up for public comment and for being here tonight. Moving on, we have another community member that signed up, Ms. Maricruz Martinez. Ms. Martinez? Hello, Ms. Martinez. To keep myself consistent in all my meetings, you have a 3-minute maximum to speak. There is a timer on the screen to keep you on track. The topics addressed shall be limited to those specifically included on the board's agenda and/or district related. We're ready whenever you are, Ms. Martinez.
Thank you. Good evening, district leaders, faculty, staff, and community. My name is Maricruz Martinez, HEA-TSJ local president. It is summer break, but we are here with you because there is still very important work to be done. Us to advocate for what is fair and just, and you, HISD leaders, to work on choosing what is best for our district, and all those of us that work daily to educate the leaders and life changers of tomorrow. We advocate for everyone at every level. At the beginning of these meetings, once HB2 was approved, we quickly realized the state leaders excluded 0 to 2 year teachers, admin at all levels, and non-teachers of record. We advocated for all to be included in receiving raises. And today, we want to thank you, HISD leaders, for including all in the current raise proposal. Of course, our billionaire state of Texas passed HB2 and ignored the dedicated work of many on our teams, and they did not give a true and effective amount to make a difference in our ADA, which has been all but completely ignored since 2019. For many outside of education, they think the state is taking care of all money issues, deficits, pay raises, and more in public schools with HB2. But we all know different. So our work for better will continue. During these meetings, I was shocked to learn the district is trying to remove the only current stipend many of us dedicated and hardworking teachers work to receive the attendance stipend. A reward of $1,000 for all teachers that show up to work daily. Many of us enjoy that stipend in July for our dedication to our daily work and attendance. And now you want to tie it in to the unfair campus grading scale and 93% student attendance. We have amazing social workers, admin, and teachers working daily to encourage students to be in school. Many also work on and have great incentives for students, and still students are absent. Why? Because it is the responsibility, the choice of the parents and families to choose to bring them daily, and many of them choose not to. Why would you be okay with that change? Please leave it as the attendance stipend it was originally set up as, for those dedicated teachers that come to work daily. Thank you for your service to our community, district, and the employees of HISD at all levels. Good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez, for signing up for public comment. Our next community member is Ms. Susan Salinas. Welcome, Ms. Salinas. Again, to keep myself consistent in all the meetings, you have a 3-minute maximum to speak. There is a timer on the screen to keep you on track. The topics addressed shall be limited to those specifically included on the board's agenda and/or district related. And we're ready whenever you are, Ms. Salinas.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Susan Salinas with TSDA staff speaking tonight on item agenda 8. The Texas legislation did pass House Bill 2, which provides money for raises. The problem is that the legislation did not realize how it would impact a regular classroom teacher. Texas Education Code 5.001 defines a classroom teacher as being 4 hours in the room. 21.0051 defines a teacher of record as a teacher who gives grades and assignments. So those teachers who still teach but don't have a class list are not included in House Bill 2. Most legislators have no clue, and neither does the public. So the district last Wednesday, they did say about 179 teachers did not qualify for the raise outlined in the bill. The district did find local funds to give those teachers a $1,500 increase. As Mr. Soto mentioned last meeting, those who did not qualify can apply for a classroom position. We encourage the district to reach out to those teachers, those employees, and let them know they're not qualified for the HB2 monies. And if they want to go back into the classroom, they can. Last Wednesday, the district changed its proposal for our classified paraprofessionals and clerks from 1% to 2%. It is based on their pay grade midpoint. This is about 33 cents to 66 cents more an hour. This is better, but still does not grant them a living wage that takes in the amount of food that's increasing, gas, and housing costs. HEA is against the removing the teacher attendance stipend and replacing it with a stipend based on a school's rating and a student's attendance. The district reported there are only 1 school that's A-rated and 2 with a B rating. There are 17 schools in Harlandale. That means 14 schools, you don't care about their attendance? This change only focuses on 3 schools. It is the new program for 3 schools. Is that going to sufficiently increase or impact the district's ADA? One thing to think about is how the morale will be impacted by this new attendance incentive. If I'm a teacher working at a C school and I have great attendance, my kids have great attendance, and they come to school, how does that make me feel? I don't even have a chance at it. If the goal is to increase student attendance, then the focus should be on that. Don't tie them together. All teachers who make the effort should be rewarded for their attendance. HA does not support this new attendance system. And Ms. Ortiz, your question you had, there are 4 districts who currently pay $61,777, $60,934, $60,320, and $60,000 for a first-year teacher. They still have to do their budget, and they're going to still be ahead of you. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Salinas. Moving on to agenda item 5, announcements. Ms. Garza.
guess Ms. Cavazos, if you don't mind. I
Yes,
know
Mr.
I arrived a little tardy, but I missed what was, I know there was a moment of silence for Coach Cardenas. Was there anything else shared?
Nothing else that the community doesn't already know about Ms. Cardenas, about Coach Cardenas. I shared something with Mr. Soto and I said, what can you say about an individual like that? We're completely at a loss of words and a loss for the community. But other than that, we just had a moment of silence to try to process the huge loss for Harlandale ISD.
Well, if you don't mind, indulge me for a minute or two, if that's okay.
Of course.
I
Mr.
just,
Cardenas.
Mr. Cardenas was one of my APs as well, so I didn't know they were going to be here. So if not, I would have made the proper arrangements. So I apologize. Just real quick, Ms. Garza, just to piggyback off what Mr. Ancha said. But in addition to that, her family lived out on Linden, so they were in my area where they grew up with a lot of my brother-in-law's family. So it was a little bit closer in that respect. So in that same sense, I know that there was a memorial set up through Harlandale this past week. I don't know if you guys saw it, but if you tried to go down Flores or you try to go down Pleasanton, you were not going to be able to get around it. And so it was a nice gesture. And I just want to acknowledge that anytime I did see her, she was always very kind to us outside of the school environment. And then also because her mom would vote all the time for me. So that was always very considerate of her. And she would always kind of task me with different things to help her program, to help feed the kids, especially in the summer months. So just wanted to share that we are very deeply, we'll miss a severe part of our community. So just thank you and I apologize for interjecting that. If not, I would have added that.
No
on time.
apologies needed,
Thank you.
Mr. Moreno. No apologies needed. I always say it takes a certain kind of soul to be a teacher. She owned that and so much more. And it's a great loss to the community. It's just a heavy, heavy loss to the Harlandale community. Ms. Garza, we're ready when you are.
So sorry about that. Good evening, members of the board, Superintendent Soto, cabinet members, and members of the community. These are announcements for this evening. The State Association of Texas Pioneers has named Ms. Emma Spoor, who was nominated while serving at Leal Middle School, as their Texas History Educator of the Year. This statewide honor reflects the dedication and passion she brought to the classroom during her time with Harlandale ISD. We're proud to see her work recognized at this level and congratulate her on this achievement. In the midst of graduation season, we made it a priority to spotlight our students as much as possible. In addition to our social media coverage, we're proud to have been selected by the San Antonio Express News to be part of its annual graduation special, which was printed on June 8th. As part of the feature, the full valedictorian speeches from both Harlandale and McCollum High Schools were published, giving our students a powerful platform to share their voices. We also ran a full-page graduation ad and highlighted the celebrations in Mr. Soto's newsletter for that month. Even without counting the 50,000 plus reach from our social media coverage, the efforts above reached nearly half of San Antonio adults with college-age children, which is about 47% as per Express News, amplifying our message across both print and digital platforms. So anyone who wants a copy, they were printed during the June 8th edition, and you can see our valedictorian speeches on one side and then our full-page ad in the next page.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Ortiz.
congratulations, Mr. Soto, to you and your staff. Wonderful. This was a wonderful job y'all did.
And we do have a few important dates coming up. So we do have June 19th, 2025. That is a federal holiday. We have our district holiday from July 1st through the 4th. And then we have Independence Day on July 4th. And that does it for our important dates. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Anybody? Any questions or comments for Ms. Garza? Okay, I guess not. Thank you, Ms. Garza.
Thank you.
Moving on to agenda item 6, information and reports.
Yes, Madam Chair, letter A will be started off with Mr. Simons.
Good evening. For our, so we're here to report on the STAR results for EOC tests here in Harlandale ISD. Our goal for biology was that we would increase by 3.5 percentage points relative to the state's meets performance. And this year, in looking at our meet scores, we rose by 0.8% from where'd it go? 43.6 to 44.4. However, in relation to the state rose 5 percentage points, which means that we decreased relative to the state by 4.2. So a somewhat small, but still relative decrease compared to the state. Across the district, you can see here, and this is a comparison from last year to this year, not specifically relative to the state, where you see the district gained the 0.8, Harlandale High School gained 2.9, McCollum High School gained 1.3, Early College dropped by 7.1, and then FTA dropped by 8.6. With regard to those two, it is relatively hard to maintain really high numbers for Early College, and then FTA has had some exceptional gains and quite a few, they have a lot of fluctuation given their population. As far as our subpopulations, emergent bilingual and special education, we had a slight decrease in emergent bilingual with regards to meets of 3.9, and then a gain in special education of 9.7 compared to last year. The supports we've been putting in place and will continue to put in place for science in the district is to continue to support teachers around the new TEKS. As a reminder, this year's test only tested the overlapped standards, whereas this upcoming year's STAR test will test all the standards at all the grade levels, minus I think like 1 or 2 at some of, I think 8th grade. We'll continue to support teachers on training and planning with regard to productive struggle, and providing one-on-one instructional coaching support with our instructional coach, and incorporating the new STAR item types as we've been doing in our unit and benchmark assessments. Turn it over to Ms. Pantoja.
Hello, as you recall, our goal for this year was to increase by an average of 3.5 percentage points relative to the state's meets performance. So if you look at the slide, you'll see that we actually decreased by 8.4 percentage points. Specifically in the meets category, we went from last year's STAR 53.5% down to 45.1%. Looking specifically, and so if you look at the line graph, again, decreasing by 8%. If you look at the black line, that is how the state performed. The state actually had a gain of about 1 percentage points. And then, of course, you see the gold line, which represents Harlandale ISD as a whole. Specifically broken down by campus, we have Harlandale High School with a decrease by 14%, McCollum High School by nearly 7 percentage points, Early College High School 15.6 percentage points, and then Frank Tejeda with the lowest decrease of 0.1 percentage points. And of course, our goal was to increase by 3.5% relative to the state.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Ms. Ortiz.
I have a question. So when we go back to set our goals for the upcoming school year, where do we set them? If we've decreased, do we keep the same goal or do we go down?
So I believe that we maintain, I think our goal is to try to keep consistent with the way the state is performing. And so if we're looking specifically at the emergent bilingual student or our subgroups, we have emergent bilinguals performing or decreasing by 4 percentage points, and then our special ed students decreasing by 2.9 percentage points. So social studies support has been pretty consistent throughout the school year, visiting POCs, providing materials, professional development, meant to really impact student achievement. And so I will say that our scores are not where I would like for them to be. And so our goal is to really provide more targeted support with individual campuses and identifying areas where we can gain the most. And I will say that currently we do not have items, so we don't have release tests, the actual release test. So we don't have data related to specific standards yet. And so I think once we get that data in, we'll be able to have a little bit more focused discussion with the individual campuses and teachers to try to identify areas in which we can incorporate a lot of the strategies that we've received professional development on to help improve the scores. Next up, we have Gabby McMillan discussing mathematics data.
Good evening. Our goal for this past year was 6.5% increase in meets. And here I am unable to, okay, here we go. Our goal was 6.5 percentage points, and our meets, in fact, increased by 4.3 percentage points. Our approaches is running at mid-60s, meets in the 30s, masters in the teens. If we look at the campuses, what's interesting to note is that the individual campuses are showing some very different growths and decreases. So this does include all of the middle schools. We had quite a big jump, excuse me. Back button here. Thank you. Sorry about that. So we had quite a big jump at Harlandale High School and at Early College High School and at Kingsborough Middle School. And then the other campuses showed a decrease. In the line graph, we're seeing that the state's performance has remained rather even. We took a different route. So we've decreased since 2022, and except for this past year where we went up, and relative to the state, we actually increased by 1 percentage point, which is what I always like to see. Our sub-pops, our emergent bilingual, actually increased by 3 percentage points, and special ed increased by 5.4%. Nice little growths. We're still under the goal, though. So we have been using assessments that reflect the new STAR format so that students and teachers become more and more in tune to what is expected. There have been daily pacing guides for all of the tested areas that include embedded success criteria. There has been an emphasis on student productive struggle and academic discourse, and then direct teacher support via walkthroughs and feedback, PLC meetings, and actionable data. And here I go again.
I think we're going to reserve our questions till everybody presents.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. I'm here to share the secondary EOC STAR performance. My name is Justin Pozos, the Secondary English Language Arts Coordinator. And so our goal for this year was to increase by an average of 4%, and that was relative to the state's performance. And when we look at our data, it definitely was a surprise, especially based on our district benchmark performance. We decreased with our meets plus students by 5.3 percentage points. And so that was a really steep decline. You'll notice that our master's level students remained pretty consistent, and we saw a slight decrease in approaches. However, when we look at our performance compared to the state, you'll notice that the state did also decrease. The state decreased 3% in meets plus students, and we were about at 5%. So we decreased about 3% more than they did, 2.7 actually. So anywhere you see a decrease greater than 3% would be outside the norm compared to the state, and something that we would want to take a look at. When we look at our district breakdown for all of our secondary campuses, we're looking at our meets growth compared to last year. And you'll see as a district, we did decrease 5.3% as stated. Harlandale High School did decrease significantly by 10.2%, well outside the norm. And that was identified by our district benchmark data. McCollum High School decreased 3.8%, which is pretty relative to the state's performance. Early College High School increased 1.7%, and then FTA decreased by 11.8% in meets plus performance. When we look at our special populations, our special education students decrease was relative to the state's overall performance as well at 2.7 percentage points, and emerging bilingual was well outside that norm at 8.2 percentage points. In terms of support, we have already started applying these supports after our district benchmark data was reviewed and moving into the end of the year, established some supports and identified some areas of need moving into next year. The primary focus is on ensuring that all teachers are presenting texts to students that are at the appropriate complexity, which means we have to be reading at or above grade level with students. We have to present them with texts that are at or above grade level, because whenever they reach the STAR, they are reading texts that are at or above grade level. And if they don't get exposed to that during their Tier 1 instruction, they will not be able to practice those skills that are so vital to their performance. And moving into next year, we are going to continue our teacher training and calibration, making sure that teachers really understand where that complexity lies with the texts that they're choosing with students, and also incorporating campus walks with administrators, helping them to further identify needs when it comes to complexity and how to intervene with teachers to get them on the right track. We are also leveraging our district AI tools. The district's initiative of trying to be an AI forward district has really been pushing with Soto's Greenlight. And we have integrated tools to support our teachers across all content areas and grade levels, specifically in English language arts and reading. We have built-in tools to help them plan and also to help evaluate texts for complexity. We have a lot of new teachers in our district, and they do not come with as much of that depth of knowledge that teachers have had in the past. So these AI tools have been vital in providing additional support and closing those gaps to get them classroom ready as soon as possible. We're also implementing our instructional coaching, looking at targeted teacher support, and moving into next year, continuing our EOC PLC support This was a heavy focus for middle school this year, being present in all middle school PLCs twice a week. And then next year, we're going to extend that out to all of our high schools, making sure that we're participants in those planning cycles, making sure that they have the appropriate resources and are using everything that the district has to offer. In terms of support from the school board, we do ask that you just continue to monitor our progress during board meetings, ask those appropriate and engaging questions to help us reach our goals. Help us recognize the needs and impacts of individual campuses on district data outcomes. As you see in the campus performance, each campus performs relatively uniquely and they have special needs in order to meet those goals. Number 3, actively recruit fully certified teachers for tested courses from local colleges, universities, and alternative certification programs. We have found that certified teachers are usually the best suited to present educational materials to students and the most prepared. And number 4, seek additional methods of retaining and leveraging highly trained and experienced professional staff. I know that it was talked extensively about at the beginning of the session, talking about pay raises and budgeting to make sure that those teachers are adequately compensated. And that does make a difference in the lives of a teacher who's living paycheck to paycheck. So that is it in terms of sharing data, and we welcome any questions from the board at this time.
Any questions or comments? Mr. Moreno?
Yes, Madam Chair. So, Mr. Soto, I know just kind of in correlation with the information that's presented, what can you provide any insight into what could be attributed? Is it the STAR redesign to see the changes in the dips? I know I've seen some of that at the campus I'm at or the district, and then the one I'm going to. So it isn't unusual to Harlandale, but I don't know, double digits is kind of concerning. But the highlights of seeing, special ed, EB in certain of those categories improve, that's great. So maybe just the targeted intentional focus is different, or what can you share with us, sir?
Ms. Casey, can you go over a little bit about that written article that we shared earlier today?
Yes, I believe there is a copy and we also sent it by email. One of the things that across the city of San Antonio, there were trends with EOC, trends that we have never seen before. And one of the things is one area that they saw increases in was biology, and that was the only area that consistently showed increases across the city. Everywhere else, there were drops. We have looked at by department and where we fall as far as data, and we're basically the middle of the pack. We have not seen the test and really looked at the questions to see what it is that is contributing to, say, the history, the changes in our U.S. history, or we're looking at what the extended response questions were for our ELAR. One thing we did notice, kind of a highlight, is we did look at all of our ratings from 0 to 10, and we did have a highlight where we had the highest percentage of kids getting 10 points on that response. So we are still looking at that, but one thing we have seen is across the state, across of our region, all of Region 20 was kind of impacted the same way.
Mr. Moreno, you kind of alluded, it was not just a Harlandale situation there. As the article presented itself, we're kind of like in the middle of the bunch, as Ms. Casey said, is there's 3 lower lying districts, then it's East Central, Harlandale, Southwest, Southside. Who am I missing, Ms. Casey? There's 4 or 5 that we outperform in 2 subjects. They outperform us in 2. It kind of goes back and forth with that jumble mix. And then you have the top tier, which are Alamo Heights and Northside. And so we're kind of like in the middle of the pack, but we don't share that data because we want to keep improving for our children, right? And that's what we want to keep doing.
Ms. Ortiz?
Madam Chair, Mr. Soto, I have a question. With the implementation of the Blue Bonnet curriculum, do we anticipate that these goals are going to be much more difficult? Or
The Blue Bonnet at first initiative is going to be for our elementary classes, ma'am. But hopefully we lay the foundation for these kids to be more successful, as you noted. So hopefully we lay a good foundation for these children, and then we see it down the road. These are the EOCs, which is our first secondary.
And if I could interject, for secondary ELAR, we are anticipating an increase for students' ability. as they encounter that Bluebonnet material. When you look at the Bluebonnet material, students are reading texts that are at grade level and up to 2 grade levels above. And by the time they hit high school, which will be 2032, we have to be ready to encounter those students, and we have to have teachers that can teach at a grade level and 2 grade levels above to maintain that growth. Otherwise, we will see a decrease in performance, and we have to be ready for that. And we're having those conversations right now with teachers.
Mr. Moreno, did you want to say something?
Yes, so Mr. Soto, I know that's one piece that you've kind of brought into discussion, but are we looking at reframing in terms of the, because I guess to clarify for the team that we do have some students at the middle school that take the algebra EOC, but that's not necessarily everyone. Are we seeing, obviously they're performing higher because it's higher level students in terms of understanding. Are we looking to do algebra for all, or would that be something that we're not considering, or is it easier to keep the high schools separate so they can still have that opportunity?
Yes, Mr. Moreno, good question. We've had discussions, me and Ms. Casey had discussions back and forth on Algebra 1 being a requirement for 8th graders. At this time, we have not moved forward for that. I know there's some surrounding school districts that have done it, but at this time, we haven't. But yes, there is some 8th graders that perform very well in Algebra 1.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Mancha.
Mr. Soto, you said that we've had other districts that have used it. So what are their numbers? Have they increased with the districts that have used the program as a mandatory?
Good question, Mr. Mancha. I believe Southside has had some success, but next door, which is South San, did not have as well success. That's just from me remembering looking at some numbers last week. But we can get that back to you and see which school districts have had success with Algebra 1 in 8th grade and share those scores with the board. Good question, sir.
I have a question. I know in history, there was a decrease in all campuses. You said something, you referenced something that we all believe is true. Every campus is its own little world. Not everybody, teaching environment is the same. You know, some of them, whatever works for that campus, that's what they focus on. My question is, in history, there was a decrease in all campuses. Is it because of the material in the test? Are we waiting for that data that you mentioned? We were going to get to then learn about where is it that we need to tweak or we need to focus so that we can improve the student success. I always expect, I hope for increases everywhere, but tonight I was like, every single campus had a decrease on this.
Right.
And it was just that one subject.
Yes,
All
ma'am.
the other ones, there's been decreases and increases, but this one, all of it.
Right. And I will say, Ms. Cavazos, I mean, we have teachers in various spots. And so I think that it becomes a conversation with campus administrators about the team that we're building on our respective campuses, and then how best to support those individuals. Because I know that at both campuses, thinking about McCollum and Harlandale High School specifically, we did have teachers new to U.S. history who had never taught it before. And so that could be a variable. I will say for STEM Early College High School, the students who are taking, they actually don't take U.S. history here at the campus. They take it at Texas A&M San Antonio. So the approach by a university professor is very different. And so really it becomes then the opportunity for us as a campus to try to identify, so what do we need to do for review for those students who are specifically at this particular campus to help support them, since they're receiving instruction from a college professor, where the alignment isn't necessarily 100%.
Do you feel that once you get that data, you'll be in a better position to spot what needs to be done?
Absolutely. I think right now we're looking at, there are, just looking at the data that we have currently broken down by teacher, there are some hotspots that we could be a little bit more focused in terms of the support that we provide to the teachers. Granted, assuming that that will be the team that we'll get next year because of the changes, and hopefully the budget, the salary increase will mean that my teachers won't be leaving the district. So it really highly depends on kind of the people we have in that particular team.
Thank you. And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but all I'm thinking about is if you can pinpoint where we need to tweak or what additional resources you need, then we're prepared to assist with that.
I absolutely appreciate that, because I think that that is definitely, in terms of looking at the data, not where we want to be. And I think that, even though the state only only increased by 1%, I think it says a lot about kind of how difficult the assessment continues to be. And then again, I think the question was raised about comparative to other school districts, where there was really only one school district that increased, and everyone else in the region decreased by even more percentage points than Harlandale. Not that that's an excuse or the bar in which we're measuring ourselves, like Mr. Soto said. We're competing with our own data, and so that will be definitely the focus.
Thank you very much. Yes, because it obviously, like you said, it's not where we want to be, but what can we do to get us where we need to be? And we're not fearful of putting ourselves out there. We just need to put ourselves out there and say, okay, this is what we have now. Let's tweak it and let's move forward and reach for where we want to be.
Absolutely. And I think it's an opportunity for realignment and refocus, and really just saying, this is our benchmark. This is not where we want to be. And what do we need to do to get better?
Thank you so much. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Ms. Salazar?
Yes, Madam Chair, I have a question, and this, maybe Ms. Casey might be able to answer this. How are we, and then this is maybe going to be for the upcoming board meeting, how are we going to monitor the collaboration and communication between the elementary and high school coordinators with the, how can I state this, with the utilization and setting the foundations with the Renaissance learning, the Imagine learning, with waiting for us to be able to compare the data to our STAR assessments in reference to like the training, what we need to be able to really focus on, hone in on setting that foundation for our kids to be successful in those high school assessments. I don't know if that makes sense, but along the lines, how are you proactively going to be to target our professional development?
So I think one of the things we do with that information is we have, now that we've had Renaissance, I want to say our 5th year, we actually have quite a bit of data that we can go back to students and how do we progress. I think our coordinators do meet and we do plan, for example, what is our PD? What are we looking at? So when you hear from our elementary coordinators next month, as well as our secondary, because we'll be doing 3 through 8, you're going to hear the same information. We're focusing on RBs, we're focusing on PLCs. This is kind of what we're doing. So really to build kind of habits of mind within our students, that no matter what grade they're in, they're working on texts that are at their grade level. They are experiencing, problem solving, and they are having discussions, rich discussions about the content that they're working with. That's consistent across all grade levels and all content areas. So that is something that I think if you saw any of our training materials, you're going to see that consistently across. But it is something we continue to focus on and work through.
Madam Chair, to piggyback, Ms. Casey, it's a good question, Ms. Salazar, but as noted by 2 of our coordinators, Mr. Pozos and Ms. Pantoja, we have ed partners. Mr. Pozos said, and it's kind of the trend, this is data showing that majority of our highly qualified certified teachers are performing better than the ones that just had the degree. So as a district, we have to do a better job. We thought we were providing enough support to some of those individuals that we put in the classroom, but I believe we have to do even more so and not just take for granted that they have a degree. The teaching is an art, right? And so I think as a district, that data showing us that the teachers that are struggling with student outcomes are mostly the ones that are not certified yet. So we need to provide more support for those individuals. And you'll see that data even in the elementary.
Anybody else? Yes, Mr. Luna.
I have a lot of concerns, especially the decreasing going down and the decreasing. Honestly, boys and girls and ladies and gentlemen, I don't understand the scoring system. I wasn't exposed to it once in my lifetime. But I see the decreases and I'm really concerned about that. So all I can do is really suggest to Mr. Soto and his team is that we need to do some other things that I think other districts do, like make competitions. They provide avenues for their kids to go compete in social studies, tests, math quiz, Mu Alpha Theta. I never hear about that stuff going on here in our district. And just whatever the coordinators can bring that we can fund, like mentors. I know personally, social studies presenter, Mr. I don't want to give his name here, but there's those consultants available. There's people available at Region 20. I used to go to major training when I was a teacher here. And then I talked to Mr. Soto about how we need to be even mentoring ourselves, school board people and teachers and community people that need to go into the schools and even mentor these kids. We just graduated, I don't know, hundreds of kids last month. And I don't think if we made the STAR, like you had to pass the STAR to graduate, maybe that would boost some of these kids to do better on the STAR, but I don't think we're there yet. But things like that, it makes me think of, we have the scores of all the schools. Why don't we present it to all the schools like a contest? Let's see which schools can do the best and give them a stipend or give the school a stipend or give the teachers a stipend, things like that. So that's what I would just suggest. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Luna. Anybody else?
Madam Chair, I don't know if you had the last comment, but I wanted to share something beforehand. But again, thank you as always for our coordinators for presenting the information. I know some of this stuff is very difficult to digest and decipher through. But at the same time, I know we've tasked Mr. Soto with making sure that we're doing right by our students to put them in an opportunity to be successful. I know we see a certain element of innovation within Ed Partners, but at the same time, we're seeing that needs to maybe be reimagined or reviewed for the betterment of kids. And right now there's just there's a shortage in all areas, and we're just trying to provide the best foot forward for our kiddos. But with that being said, I did want to acknowledge Ms. McMillan. I know it's always nice to see you, and I know she will be retiring. And so what I wanted to reference in conjunction with this was that she left, came back, and now is I think going off and into the sunset. But I was as boisterous as I can be here on the board. She had to contend with me for about 2.5, almost 3 years in high school. So you can only imagine that, being an unruly teenager, right? But I always like to share and see how she's progressing with our kids here. And I just wanted to thank her for her years of service as always, and knowing that she'll be sorely missed just as much as anyone else. So thank you, Ms. McMillan, for your time and your efforts, and for always willing to put up with the knucklehead kids. So thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you so much for the presentations. Moving on to agenda item 6B, the board will be presented with a school safety audit. Chief?
Nothing.
Nothing? Okay, good. That's always good. Agenda item 7, consent items. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Ms. Reese.
I move that the board approve consent items 7A through 7S.
Is there a second on Ms. Reese's motion?
I second, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Salazar. A second by Ms. Salazar. Is the voting open, please? Clicker. Agenda items, 7A through 7C, motion carries. 7S, I'm sorry. Let me start again. Agenda items, 7A through 7S, motion carries. Moving on to agenda item 8, individual items. 8A, discuss and consider approval of the proposed budget for the 2025-2026 fiscal year. Mr. Soto?
Yes, Madam Chair, at this time, we'll take any questions from the Board of Trustees.
Questions, comments?
Nice, Madam Chair. So, Mr. Soto, I know it's just been, festering for the last couple of weeks. We've been here. I think this is the fourth meeting we've had in regards to the budget, right? And at this point, we kind of understand the constraints that we're given from the state. But there hasn't been any other updates, right, sir? And so we're limited to what the specification is. I know a lot of times it's based off of what the LEA, the local education agency, the Kent district wants to do, but I don't know, maybe you could give us any more intel on what other ISDs are going to consider, but knowing that we as a district are willing to absorb some of this funding to support our staff that are not being equitably considered by the state legislators in Austin.
Just having a discussions with the superintendents, and don't hold me to it because they'll tell me something and then they might change. But at this time, Northside said they were going to do a 1.2 raise. Northeast was going to do a 1% raise. Again, sir, and Board of Trustees, as we know where we're at in the footprint of San Antonio, we know where our ADA is at. We are not growing. We are not having an influx of children. We don't have communities popping up, subdivisions. We have a lot of homes that don't have kids. And so we got to be able to forecast this 5 years to have a balanced budget. We can't have both worlds in what we're sitting in right now, as we know. There's some other surrounding school districts that are closing schools. I commend the board and the community for jumping on that, as I said, way ahead a few years to put us in the predicament that we have a healthy fund balance. And if we don't have done that, we would have been having a different conversation today. But somewhere we have to look out for Harlandale in 5 years and stay competitive for our teachers. And so that's why we're doing a 2%. We're also giving the 1,500 and we're doing incentive. I think the contentious item is the incentive on teacher attendance. Was you see the student outcomes. We're here in the business to service our children. We want our students to be successful. So if the teachers were here, that's going to help our students be successful. But if the students are not in the classroom and sitting down, they are not going to learn. And then twofold, and this is a selfish part of a budget, is if the student is in their seat, we create revenue. When a teacher shows up to work, they are paid to come to work. And when they come to work and if they miss work, if they miss a day, we're going to pay for that teacher's daily rate, and then we're going to pay for the sub. So let's just say a daily rate is 200. We would pay 200 because the teacher's absent, and then 100 and something for a sub. So we would be paying out of pocket. So the district is not creating revenue in that instance. We lose revenue. And somewhere we have to stop the bleeding. So somewhere we need to think with our heads and say, you know what, we have to find a way. And I've spoken to some of y'all. Y'all are talking to me about creating revenue. The biggest revenue that we get is our children being in school. And I understand you guys have great ideas about advertisements and bus wraps and stadiums. Those are all, with all due respect, those are Band-Aids. We need our children at school. And yes, it's the parents. But as you guys know, the day and age we live in right now, we are the parents, us educators. And our hourlies didn't get a good raise. And we did some studies, and of all the campuses, I believe 11, Ms. Casey, about 11 could be Bs next year. They have a possibility of being a B.
We have seen growth, and if with continued growth, we believe that they could be.
And then attendance, Mr. Floyd asked you for attendance of how many campuses, because we're asking for 93. How many are already at 92, 91 campuses?
7 are at 92 and above, 4 are at 91 and above. So 11.
We're not even asking pre-COVID numbers, because we know that the world has changed since COVID, right? It's hard enough to get people to work, and it's hard enough to get kids to school, and parents feel like, you know what, it's not important for them to go to school, but we're not even at that. We should really be at 95%. We're asking for 93. And so the contentious item is that one for the board to digest. Now, again, this is your district. I manage your district. If you guys feel that we want to go that other route, then you vote for it. The impact's going to be about 150,000 on a budget deficit, more or less how much we paid last year. We had 8 perfect teachers, 8 teachers that didn't miss any work, that got $8,000. But overall, the impact of paying teachers with subs and paying their daily rate roundabout is about 150. That would impact the district. So we presented what we thought is fair, but again, you're the board of trustees. As they told me, it's your money. I'm just trying to manage it.
Thank you, Mr. Soto. Anybody else? Mr. Moreno, did you want to? I am going to speak for myself, not for the board. Every time, I've been here 5.5 years, and every time we come to these budget meetings, I hesitate coming to these budget meetings because there are such hard decisions that we have to vote on. And I have to live with what I vote, whether it's yes or no. I have to own it. I have to live with it, and I have to be accountable for it. This is the saddest in 5.5 years. I am the saddest person in this meeting today. Because I used to say, Mr. Soto, see if you can find some money, see if you can dig something up, see if you can. And this time, I'm so sad because the money that they did give comes with strings attached. And it wasn't very clear to the community, to the professionals, to the staff as to what that meant. All we were told was, you're going to get money. Well, we did, but there's a lot of strings attached to that. I come from a family of educators. In my personal opinion, being a server at a restaurant and being a teacher are one of the hardest careers. Anybody, why they choose to do it? Because they have a special soul. One I do not have. Mr. Soto says, you all are the board of trustees, you all vote, and we'll do what the vote says. But at what cost, Mr. Soto? At us saying, this is what we want, and that is going to, the consequences are going to be, we're going to have to tell individuals to reapply for their jobs? Or we're going to tell them, well, you don't have to reapply, but every campus has to get rid of 20 individuals. So you are now giving some of you what you hope and expect and deserve at the cost of others. I would be more sad to be the district that says, we gave our teachers, our staff this kind of raise, but left out the long list of individuals who are not returning, not by choice, but because we have forced them to look elsewhere. This is not an ideal time for any of us, any district statewide. I commend Mr. Soto and his staff for staying focused on what we need to do. Do I want all the teachers to return? Of course. That adds to student success. I don't want a revolving door here at Harlandale ISD, but I truly believe everybody has to do what is best for them. I'm here to do what is best for students. And I want our teachers to stay, and I want our teachers to thrive because our students will thrive. We are beyond limited. We're beyond our hands being tied. I don't see, this is not a win-win situation. This is a let's keep Harlandale ISD. Let's keep the district, and let's keep everybody employed. At an ideal salary? Never. Teachers and staff will never have an ideal salary because they are worth gold, in my opinion. But I don't want to see anybody lose their job. And I don't want to see anybody have to leave because they're being forced to leave. It's a tough decision for me in every aspect. I do not feel good about any decision I'm going to make today. I just have to be certain that the decision I make and the vote I take, I will definitely be accountable for, and I will have to learn to live at peace, hoping I give peace to somebody else. That's my 2 cents worth for today. Anybody wants to share anything?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Moreno.
Mr. Soto, if you can just remind us, when was the last time we got funds from the state of Texas?
2019.
When they changed the basic allotment, correct? So since then, it's been a long time, right? And in spite of all that, sir, and the challenges of a pandemic, a global pandemic, we've always done our best to support our staff. Is that correct, sir?
That is correct, Mr. Moreno.
In spite of all those challenges and other ISDs not doing their part, we've always found a way to absorb it, to support. And I know this isn't the ideal number that we're looking at. And I think what frustrates us the most is because we're not able to compensate everyone equitably and fairly. And we're definitely focused on making the classroom instruction be the lead, but at the same time, at the expense of other great staff that are not just support staff, but our lead staff that are not being compensated properly or equitably. But ultimately, I know we at Harlandale ISD within the last 10 years have always done our part. I think I can only recall one time where we didn't honor an actual general pay increase. We might have done, or maybe we did retention stipend twice. But other than that, we've done our part, while others have kind of just said, we're not going to do that. We're not going to move forward. So I know it's always a difficult decision when we're looking at these numbers. I know Mr. Flores presents a compelling argument, and especially with the loss of revenue from tax compression and things like that. I think maybe one thing that could help us again is how Mr. Hernandez would have the pie graph. Maybe that, I know Mr. Flores has the 5-year projections, but maybe the pie graph that might be able to see how it shrinks our general fund, so we can still utilize that to show visual for the community, but know that we're still absorbing a certain amount to support our staff and the local funds. But overall, I think we'll do what we can to continue to support. I don't know if there's anything else that you could say, Mr. Soto, but that hasn't been said already.
Very good points, Mr. Moreno, Madam Chair. We can't forget some of the things that we've done as a district. The insurance, now these school districts, self-funded is very expensive. And there was a rate increase. How much did we eat this spring that we did not pass on to our employees, Mr. Flores?
We increased it by $60 a month. We went from 350 to 410.
And that was in the spring that the board approved. Again, School districts are going now to TASB, Dr. Salinas. And TASB, as we know, is not one of the best insurances for employees. And so we're continuing, and now TASB, if you get out of TASB, it's TASB insurance would say, if you're out of TASB, you can't come back. Was it? TRS, I'm sorry, TRS. See, I'm already thinking with my board member hat. TRS is once you got out, you couldn't come back in. Now they're allowing you to come back in because they know that insurance is so expensive and they're quoting it as least expensive. But we're staying the route, providing our employees better insurance. So that is one thing that we're not taking into consideration is these are salaries, you know, and you said the key word, sir, is equitable. We have teachers that are not going to get the 5,000. They're not going to get the 2,500, and that's painful. And then our hourlies getting into a pot that we only got 400,000 with administrators, with nurses, with librarians and counselors. It's a very tough situation.
Anybody else? Mr.
Madam
Luna?
Chair, I had a question, point of information. We already passed the incentive pay. I'm talking about the incentive when the insurance and they fall and they lose their turkey, ham, whatever that is, right? How much is that, 1,000,000? How much is that, Mr. Flores?
Comes from the risk assessment fund. So it's through the benefits. It's not part of.
It's not a part of the budget?
Not part of this piece. It comes out of a different fund.
Because I'm just thinking, if you give a survey to the staff, they want a turkey or they want money, I would think most of them want the money. If you could switch that, if not.
But those are just for teachers, sir. You're
Is that the
talking
whole
about
staff?
all the hourly that are not going to get their turkey, and
So that goes to
they
other
fight
staff
for
too.
turkeys. What's that?
Okay.
Sir? Yeah, teachers are the only ones that were getting this attendance incentive.
But can you offer to the staff, the rest of the staff?
The attendance incentive?
Right.
We can, but we're going to keep impacting the budget. They're going to get, if they have days and they take off, we're paying them to take off, and then we're paying whoever's going to come work.
If there isn't anything else, we're going to move on to vote. Is there a motion? Mr. Moreno?
Yes, I'll go ahead and proceed. I'll go ahead and move to approve the proposed budget for the 25-26 fiscal year.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second? I will second that. Can we turn on the voting, please? All votes are in. Agenda item 8A, motion carries.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr. Moreno.
we're moving on to item 9, right? I'd like to make a motion to move into closed session for items as authorized by the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, Sections 551.071 through 551.084.
Thank you, sir. Is there a second to Mr. Moreno's motion?
Madam Chair, I second.
Thank you, Ms. Salazar. Can we put the voting up there, please, if it isn't already? Okay, all votes are in. Motion carries. It is now 7:44, and we are going to convene in closed session. Thank you so much. We're back in open session. It was 8:16. It probably still is. Agenda item 9A, no action taken at this time. Agenda item 9B, no action taken at this time. Moving on to agenda item 11, adjourning meeting. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we adjourn.
Thank you, Ms. Ortiz. Is there a second on Ms. Ortiz's motion?
Madam Chair, I second.
Thank you, Ms. Reese. You can open up the voting. There we go. Voting is closed. Motion carries. Tonight's meeting is adjourned. It is 8:17. Thank you, everybody.